The Democratic Party, it seems poised right now for some sort of civil war. And part of the reason you're seeing this pop up right now is because last Tuesday you had those 3 candidates backed by Zohran Mamdani, including 2 Democratic Socialists, winning their primaries. And that sparked this whole renewed conversation over whether socialism is taking over the Democratic Party. Right, and these wins, they also came off as especially provocative because 2 of them won against sitting Democrats, and a third beat the chosen successor to the retiring incumbent. So as far as reactions, you had things like when a reporter asked House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries whether Mamdani's endorsements were a fuck you to the party. He gave this not so friendly answer.
Listen, the mayor and I agreed to strongly disagree about some of his endorsements, and he's got work to do in terms of the conversations that he's going to have with members of Congress moving forward.
That response was also pretty tame compared to the response from Representative Josh Gottheimer, because he said, quote, "Many of us believe, as I do, that if you're a socialist, you're not a Democrat." And then you had 15 moderate Dems signing this manifesto declaring, quote, "Politics forces false choices between extremes on right and left. We reject them. We believe in a growing, fair, and competitive economy that rewards hard work, innovation, entrepreneurship, and ownership." Saying we are proud, not ashamed of America. We are mainstream, not extreme. We are capitalist, not socialist. Which then, of course, begged the question of, well, what is Mamdani's reaction to the reactions? And well, yesterday, during an interview with ABC's Jonathan Karl, Mamdani addressed all the criticism from his fellow party members.
They put out a manifesto today. I don't know, have you seen this thing?
Sounds pretty socialist to me.
It's not a communist manifesto. It's a moderate manifesto.
I mean, that's great, but what's a party if not its voters? And I'm proud to sit in front of you as the mayor of our city, having received more than 1 million votes, a little less than a year ago. And for a lot of people who ask themselves, what does democratic socialism mean? We've seen a city with democratic socialist principles at the heart of it within our administration. And what we've delivered has been record lows when it comes to murders and shootings. I'm not interested in writing a manifesto or, frankly, in reading one. I'm interested in delivering, and that's exactly what we've been showing.
And really quick, opinion time, if I was those moderate Dems, I'd be pissed too. Mamdani, he seemingly came out of nowhere and just kind of exposed himself as a generational talent that could communicate to the masses. So I will say, it does feel like there is at least somewhat of a ceiling on the people that he can reach, at least whether it be independents and such. And that's because Republicans have really effectively, for a certain chunk of the base, made socialism like the boogeyman word. And so even saying democratic socialist, you're gonna have people run the opposite direction. I've talked to people that are like, oh, I agree with that policy, but I know I'm against socialism. I'm like, that's a socialist policy. So this is just one idiot's pitch. I'm gonna start a new party. It's gonna be called New American Populists. My slogan is that America needs a nap. This world has been crazy. This country has been crazy. We all need to take a little nap and then get back to work. Though then going back to those moderate Dems, they did probably like at least one thing Mamdani said, and that was him addressing the question of 2028, right? Whether he would like to run for president or even be able to run for president, because as Carl pointed out, he cannot do so legally because the Constitution bars immigrants from running.
Do you think that we should change that?
No.
No.
I think the Constitution looks good the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
So even as inoffensive as that answer was, you still had the New York Post finding a way to spin that into a scary headline, writing, "Mamdani weighs in on changing the Constitution so he can run for president." Though I will say, to the Post's credit, they have at least been consistent in how much they hate Mamdani. There's been a lot of switch-ups happening on the left and the right. But the New York Post, you can count on them, right? And they have been absolutely rabid in their coverage of Mamdani since day one, like even with the most innocuous of stories. So my favorite might have actually come from this weekend because you had headlines like, "Zohran Mamdani jumps into New York City pool to kick off summer tradition while violating dress code rules," as well as "Mamdani quietly attends Knicks games, sitting in section where tickets cost around $700 or more. And ex-mayors join Hochul, Tisch, and thousands at New York City's Israel parade while no-show Mamdani bizarrely rides bike around town in business suit, no helmet." Right? Since Tuesday's primaries, that panic on the right, it's just dialed up to an 11 with, for example, Ben definitely not botting his view, Shapiro going off.
The communist America-hating revolution isn't coming, it's here. They want limitless taxation, transing the kids as a matter of course, limitless immigration, no limits on immigration, taxpayer-funded abortion for all. Piker is running around now saying America is commie town. Do not cow to the commies. Let's say that there's an economic downturn. Let's say a bunch of corruption stories about the Trump administration break between now and 2028, which, by the way, is quite likely to happen. Let's say that from here, Democrats win in November. They do well in November. And the entire media apparatus attributes that to the increasing radicalism of the Democratic Party. Do you really believe that the Democratic immunity to full-scale third worldist communism is going to be strong enough to reject something like an AOC candidacy? Let's be very clear. Zohran Mamdani's world was built by Barack Obama. Barack Obama was step one. He was much better at hiding his politics. Now you don't have to hide your politics anymore because of Barack Obama.
But then when it comes to these kinds of attacks, Mamdani's response has always been the same. Judge me by my deeds, not by whatever boogeyman you have in your head.
Republicans are going to make you the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved.
And, you know, if you look at the polls, it looks like that pitch is working. Mamdani's approval rating, it's gone up in New York State as a whole. And actually, when you narrow it down to just New York City, 58% approve and just 26% disapprove. Though, of course, that's New York City. When you're thinking about all the different places you gotta win, not everywhere is New York City. And in the meantime, you know, it is gonna be interesting to watch this play out, right? Does the DSA have growing influence in the Democratic Party? Is there a growing civil war there? Also, are the Republicans' efforts to make them the face of the Democratic brand, is that gonna hurt Dems or give them maybe energy that they've needed really badly? I mean, Mike Johnson, he recently did a thing where he was warning Republicans about what the DSA want, and a lot of it sounded like he was doing promo for them. He was like, these monsters at the DSA, they want to expand the House of Representatives to implement proportional representation, end the Electoral College, end all military and economic aid to Israel, prosecute US and Israeli leaders responsible for the genocide in Gaza, and among other things, they also want ranked choice voting. And I was like, did Mamdani pay Mike Johnson to say this? Because this very much felt like Mike Johnson believing in Democratic politicians more than the Democratic base believes in Democratic politicians. And again, this part's my opinion, I think a lot of people just get scared by the socialism word. It's a boogeyman word for many. But the truth of the matter is two things. One, a lot of what Mamdani and a lot of these people, whether they're called Democratic Socialists or whatever, like kind of the new upstarts that we've been seeing, a lot of the stuff that they are saying and they're promoting, it's stuff that like FDR would have wanted. And FDR, I think, is like the 6th most popular president in US history. And two, for that block of Democratic politicians that are trying to frame that what's happening is capitalism versus socialism, what I would say to them is that only ends up being a winning argument if capitalism starts working better for even more people. And right now, for the vast majority of Americans, it's not working fantastically. It's the failure of systems and the people that promote those systems that open the door for alternatives. And it feels like a lot of the politicians that are complaining really didn't learn the lesson that Orange Man Bad was a losing strategy in 2024, and people want to hear what their politicians are going to do to make their lives better. And a lot of these new faces and voices that we're seeing, they're doing just that. But hey, we'll see how everything plays out. And of course, with all of this, I'd really love to know your thoughts, opinions, and reactions in those comments down below.